All right, welcome into the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Last night at the conclusion of the 2022 NFL Draft, we brought you our draft grades with all 9 49ers selections. But the moves didn't stop overnight and into Sunday. On today's show, we're breaking down the undrafted free agents who are going to have an opportunity to crack this 49ers roster. A bevy of players who are really interesting, including a center who could be the future Alex Mack replacement if and when Alex Mack does retire. And if he doesn't retire, maybe looking into the future in Dohnovan West out of Arizona State. We'll get to him a little bit later, but I do want to hit on Tay Martin, wide receiver, Oklahoma State. Last year, 1,050 yards from scrimmage, 11 total touchdowns for Oklahoma State, a fifth-year senior. He spent the first 3 years of his career at Washington State. Then he transferred to Stillwater in 2020, a contributor in each of the past 3 seasons at Washington State as well as Oklahoma State. And in 2021, put up some really impressive numbers. Decent size at 6'1.5", 184 pounds. Is 24 years old, though. As we talked about, he's been in the collegiate ranks for a little while. Obviously on the outside looking in to make the 49ers roster at what is a deep receiving core with the draft selection of Danny Gray. Is he going to be the Deebo Samuel replacement? No, he's not. Jokes that we have on a Sunday. So we are closing in on 60,000 subscribers here on the 49ers Report. Our coverage throughout all of NFL free agency, NFL draft has been absolutely superb, and we're closing in on a milestone, 1,518 people until 60,000 subs. So if you want videos on the 49ers every single day, as well as some live shows and audience interaction, hit that red subscribe button down below and lock us in right here on the 49ers Report. Next UDFA to get to, Segun Olubi, the linebacker out of San Diego State. What's interesting is that the 49ers are stacked at the linebacking spot. So he's going to go into the offseason activities on the outside looking into this roster as well at what is a very deep linebacking core for San Francisco. Does have characteristics that I really like in terms of what I see on game film, and I also like his leadership qualities. Was a team captain at San Diego State this past year in 2021, finished with 53 tackles, 2 sacks, 3.5 sacks for loss, or tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 10 quarterback hits in 7 starts. He ranked 9th in the Mountain West Conference in forced fumbles, so he can do a couple of really nice things on the football field. Sending him in blitz packages, sometimes he can be a liability in coverage. Next up, it is Jason Poe, center and offensive guard out of the football powerhouse Mercer. He too, a little bit older, at 24 years old, 6 foot, 300 pounds. I don't think he's going to make this team at all because of what the 49ers did in the 2022 NFL Draft, addressing offensive line, especially going after guys who have that tackle and guard flexibility. For a lot of these UDFAs, for all 32 teams in the National Football League, having that versatility to play multiple spots is really valuable. I'm not sure Jason Poe does have that versatility to his game. Among some of the players who we've broken down already, some of the players that we're going to get to, cannot talk about Dohnovan West, that coming up right around the corner. Who is your favorite undrafted free agent making their way to the Bay? That's going to be the pinned comment on today's YouTube video. So if you get hit with that YouTube ad break, just scroll on down and get your votes in. Jeremiah Gemmel, linebacker out of North Carolina. This guy is beloved by teammates as well as his coaches. He's a hard hitter. He's a physical player, really good size, solid athleticism at 6 foot, 226 pounds. You look at the numbers in 2021, 74 tackles, a sack and a half, 1 forced fumble. He was a consistent starting linebacker in Chapel Hill, averaging roughly 80 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 3 PBUs, 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 interception a year. A year, folks, from 2019 to 2021. And I talk about him being beloved by his coaches as well as his teammates. He was nicknamed the General. Receives praise for a lot of his intangibles, and those intangibles might allow him to really thrive throughout the offseason and the preseason and maybe make the practice squad for the San Francisco 49ers. We move ahead to Taylor Hawkins now, the safety out of San Diego State. Now, Tom Downey, our draft expert, tended to really like him, but what are the 49ers going to do at that safety spot after not really addressing safety in the NFL draft? I like Hawkins because he can play a couple of different positions, and he was able to do that throughout his college career, primarily at cornerback, but did fill in safety roles throughout his college career. Had his most productive season easily in 2021 this past season, recording 62 tackles and 10 pass breakups for the San Diego State Aztecs. A really good player who, if he could come in and prove, okay, I can play safety, I can play outside corner, play inside corner. Those are the types of things that really can catch the eye of the coaching staff. And at 6 foot, 203 pounds, he can certainly pack a punch as well. But if he goes to the practice field and they're like, man, Taylor Hawkins, he's lining up at safety, he's lining up at inside and outside corner, we got to give this guy a shot, and he showed some good ability at those positions on film while he was with San Diego State. After the NFL draft, I went live for our first show on Call-In, a really interactive podcasting app, and I was able to field calls from the audience and members of the Niner gang. We chopped it up for almost an hour after I was live straight on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, as well as the 49ers Report, from like 10 a.m. until 7:30 p.m. I'm going to go live once again, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, right after our live show on Tuesday, which comes your way 7 o'clock Eastern and 4 o'clock Pacific. You're asking, Chase, what is the Call-In app? I didn't get an opportunity to tune in on Saturday night. Audio social podcasting app where there's a live chat and a live call-in line where I'm able to take calls and we can chop it up and talk Niners through a really audio medium. We're going to be doing weekly live shows. It's your chance to basically be a part of the 49ers Report podcast and sports talk radio show. Make sure you subscribe by going to chatsports.com/49ers call-in. But I already scheduled the show for Tuesday, and that is in the comment section. Make sure you join that link and click on that link so you can join our call-in show on Tuesday night. Okay, let's move forward here on our UDF tracker. Taysir Mack is the next player who we're going to get to, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. And a lot of people became accustomed with Mack because Kenny Pickett was balling out for Pittsburgh this past year and really was able to establish himself as one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and that's why he was the only round one quarterback to go on Thursday night in night one. Now, Mack contributed in all 5 of his college seasons, so once again, we're talking about an older player here. The production was never crazy. He never went over 750 yards in a season. Last year in 2021, with arguably the best quarterback in college football, in albeit a very weak quarterback class, 27 grabs, 461 yards, as well as 3 touchdowns. We're going to go back to the defensive side of the ball. Leon O'Neal, safety out of Texas A&M. And again, 49ers did not go safety in the NFL draft. The board just did not fall their way in that second round when Jalen Petrie went off the board, as well as Jaquan Brisker going off the board. So they're looking maybe for some future safeties or guys that can add to the practice squad. Now, in my opinion, of course, Jimmy Ward's going to be back as one of the starting safeties. Maybe it opens up an opportunity because they didn't draft the safety to bring back Jaquiski Tart. I like Talanoa Hufanga. I like him more as a backup safety who can play linebacker and also get sent home on some blitz packages and play special teams. That's where I like Hufanga. But throughout the offseason, throughout offseason activities, training camp, preseason, and all of that, the safety competition for the backup spots with Tarvarius Moore coming back off that torn Achilles and the lack of depth without Jaquiski Tart, something that is going to be very, very interesting. My favorite UDFA signing so far, by far and away, it has to be Dohnovan West. Dohnovan West was one of the best center prospects in this draft class, and a lot of people thought he could have gone 5th, 6th, 7th round. And what's funny about the center position, I value it more than most. Why is that? Because that's a quarterback's best friend. And you're looking for a future center to pair up with Trey Lance for the next 7 to 10 years. But a lot of teams, outside of what the Baltimore Ravens did this year by drafting Tyler Linderbaum in the first round, don't really prioritize exhausting premium draft capital on centers. So Dohnovan West kept on falling. He kept on falling. During our live show, I said, Niners, with 220, 221, I like to see them go after Dohnovan West. With pick Mr. Irrelevant, I'd like to see them maybe take a chance on Dohnovan West. I couldn't believe that he was dropping down draft boards. Instead, with that last pick in the draft, they went Brock Purdy, who I think could be the next Colt McCoy or C.J. Beathard or Nick Mullins. Dohnovan West, to go to the Niners here at that center spot, he's going to have an opportunity, if Alex Mack does retire, to possibly be the center down the road. Now, what's interesting is that per a league source, it is going to be a $10,000 signing bonus for West to the Bay and $100,000 in guaranteed money. West is a great scheme fit, was a starter as a true freshman for Arizona State as a right guard, and then an honorable mention to the All-Pac-12 team that year. Then he shifted to start at left guard as a sophomore and was a first-team All-Conference member. Then he moved inside to center, where he profiles best in the NFL because of his size at 6'3", 296 pounds. He's a little bit on the leaner side, but I always say this about centers. Linderbaum, Jason Kelsey, guys who are a little bit smaller, it's okay depending on the scheme, and he's going to Kyle Shanahan's outside zone scheme, where he's going to have to go out on pull blocks in space throughout the passing game as well as the running game to clear up some opportunities down the field for some of these pass catchers on some of the quick hitters as well as some of the running backs. Dohnovan West is an absolutely phenomenal scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense. At 296 pounds, he possesses the athletic ability to get out in space on some of those pull blocks, on some of those quick developing plays in the run game as well as the pass game. And I think that he has an opportunity to be a starting caliber center in Kyle Shanahan's offense down the road, because we're not sure what's going to happen with the looming potential retirement of Alex Mack. His positional versatility, his acumen, his leadership skills, his toughness, his athletic ability, all great traits in this 49ers offense. And this is a under-the-radar signing that I could think have really big implications for the 49ers offensive line down the road, which going into this year is a weaker spot on this Niners roster. I think he's making the team. I really do think he's making the team. I'd rather have Daniel Brunskill at right guard than be the starting center. Of course, it all comes down to what happens with Alex Mack, but type Y for yes if you think he's going to make the squad, or give me an N for no. We move forward back to the trenches on the defensive side of the ball. Kevin Atkins out of Fresno State. Last year in 2021, 41 tackles, 7 sacks, 314 pounds, 6'2 and a quarter. He was able to really establish himself as a solid player. The problem with him is that he's not really all that athletic, and it's not like he's all that powerful either. A bit of an under-the-radar defensive lineman. He does play with good hands and power, but he has to do that and bring that to the football field and in the trenches because he's not all that athletic. Do we have the graphic for Minnesota offensive lineman Sam Schlueter? Okay, we do not have the graphic for Minnesota offensive lineman Sam Schlueter. I do have some notes on him. 6'6", 325 pounds, out of Victoria, Minnesota. He stayed in his home state and was able to play for the Golden Gophers. He was kind of one of those last players to sign as a UDFA. Don't think he's going to make the squad either. He's certainly going to have his work cut out for him throughout the offseason and in OTAs. Okay. Game time is what I want to do next to see, among these 10 players who we talked about today, how many do you think can actually make the 53-man roster? I think Dohnovan West has a good shot. Other than that, I'm not really confident in anybody else, but that's why these guys are UDFAs, and that's why they were not selected in the NFL draft. But every single year, a bunch of rookies across the board who were doubted, who were overlooked, end up proving people wrong. So over under 2 players making the 53-man roster. Of the 10 that we discussed today, O for over, U for under. Let me know in the comments section, and make sure that you get those notifications on the call-in app. You plug in that link down below, chatsports.com/49ers call-in, and you'll be able to join me live on Tuesday night after our live YouTube show, also on Rumble, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. It was awesome to be able to actually interact voice to voice, kind of like a sports talk radio show and a podcast on call-in. Think Twitter Spaces, but even better, really excited to partner with them. Join us Tuesday night. Cannot wait. And of course, free daily videos on the 49ers coming up every day this week.